I'm the executive director of Boston After School and Beyond, and we were founded on the premise that much of learning happens outside of school, in the after-school hours and during the summer months. We coordinate the programs that serve kids after school and during the summer so that young people have access to opportunities that will help them develop skills, positive relationships, and even do better in school. Many of us think as schools as providing equal opportunities for kids, and that's partly true. But you have to acknowledge the time spent out of school. In the United States, that's 80% of a young person's waking hours. That's where a lot of inequality lies. So we're seeking to address that, to close the opportunity gaps by ensuring that young people have access to learning and development opportunities after school, because it won't happen on its own. While some families ensure that their kids are engaged in activities, many others don't have the means or the connections to do so. We have to make that sort of connection in closing the opportunity gap a public priority. Reflecting back on 10 years of collaboration and growth in our network, we've identified 4 strategies we think are useful to any collaboration that's city-wide or even region-wide. The first is to think about learning beyond boundaries. We all know that learning doesn't stop with the school day, the school building, or the school year. Learning can and does happen anywhere with a variety of adults. When you think about learning in different ways, you're able to engage more meaningful and relevant learning experiences so that you can personalize the experience for young people. That's our first lesson. The second lesson is that diversity strengthens any model. It may seem confusing to look at so many different stakeholders and wonder how they can be part of one agenda. But when different stakeholders, large and small, from different geographies, come together around a shared effort, that effort becomes much more powerful. The third lesson is to focus on cross-cutting skills that can be developed in one setting and applied to another. And these are skills like perseverance and critical thinking and communication that are essential not only to school success, but also to college and career success as well. And the final point is one around collaboration, and that's to measure and learn together. So if we track our progress and our challenges as a community, we can address them as a community and get better together. The Achieve, Connect, Thrive skills framework was created to capture the great work happening in Boston with after-school and summer programs. And we looked for skills that could be taught, learned, measured, and improved over time. So we sought the feedback of programs working directly with kids on what skills they hope to develop in them. We consulted research and literature on which skills are most meaningful and predictive of success in the future. And we created the framework several times. We've gone back and changed it, improved it, simplified it, defined it better, so that it can be a sort of North Star for programs who know they're doing good work with youth and want to be more intentional in certain areas, such as growth mindset, or communication, or relationships. And now we see that over time we can actually assess those skills, we can observe them in action, we can credential them, and we can ultimately talk about what's happening outside of school in terms of school, college, and career readiness, which enables us not just to talk to ourselves as a community, but talk to communities of policymakers and business leaders and people in higher education as well. We know that young people have a variety of incredible learning and skill development experiences. But the question is, how do they represent those experiences later in life when they apply for a summer job during high school, or even apply to college, and maybe even work down the line? What do they have that represents the skills they have, the experiences they've had, and what they've learned? We've piloted an effort called micro-credentials, or badges, in order to represent those skills and experiences. So that if a young person attends a program at least 80% of the scheduled hours, develops a portfolio that they share with peers, they conduct self-reflection, and they present their project publicly, and are observed to have demonstrated those skills, the program will award them a badge. And the great thing is that a badge, for example, in communication, will mean the same thing whether it's at the arts program or the sports program. The consistent thing is the skill and the measure behind it. And so this is just at the beginning stages. We look forward to seeing whether and how young people use badges to represent what they've learned as they apply to college. It's important to think about data as a common vocabulary. It's not just a collection of numbers, it's a collection of experiences that we have in common across different programs. So in many ways, what we measure is common across programs, whether it's an arts program or a sports program, an educational program, or a workplace program. So measurement becomes the common thread across programs. And when you do that consistently and as a community, that's where you can learn what's working and what needs to be improved. So our guiding principles are that there should be flexibility of implementation based on what a geography or a program or a school does particularly well, and consistency in measurement so that we can learn what's working and what needs to be improved. We have worked with more programs who are serving more kids. So as of now, we work with 300 programs that operate after school and during the summer that serve 21,000 young people in Boston. And those programs have worked together in order to produce new knowledge on what works in engaging young people, and even new policies to support that. So as an example, we focused on the summer months, the time between grades, when young people are often left on their own. In Boston, we've made summer learning a priority so that young people have access to the best cultural, natural, and neighborhood institutions so that they're learning and having fun at the same time. And we've studied that along the way as part of a research project. And the outcomes of that show that not only did kids have fun and were they engaged during the summer, but they actually performed better academically in the subsequent school years if they attended programs at a high rate. So we set out to ensure that kids were engaged, that they explored the city around them, and the result was they actually did better in school as well. It's been critical to have the city of Boston involved. And our mayor, Mayor Walsh, has been a great supporter of learning beyond school. And the new superintendent of the Boston Public Schools is also a great supporter. And that enables all sorts of stakeholders to play a role in children's development so that the burden doesn't fall only on teachers in schools. When the public takes leadership and when public officials take leadership, it engages all sorts of stakeholders who have a meaningful role to play. We've worked this out by listening to those who are closest to the kids. And what they told us was that they're focused on helping kids develop skills like communication and perseverance, problem solving, and creativity. So what we're doing is help develop the tools that measure what they're already doing with kids, and to help reflect the skills that kids already have and they're having the opportunity to demonstrate through these programs. So we haven't created anything. We've merely listened to those who are working with kids and helped structure their work in a way where they can learn from one another and get better together. Yeah, families are critical to engaging young people in these activities. Ultimately, they decide. It's not necessarily the school, it's the families. So we have to do a better job making sure that they understand the importance of learning beyond school, what other opportunities it can lead to, and how they benefit. But if you ask most working parents, many struggle with childcare as a fundamental need. Nearly all of them will also understand the benefits of connecting their kids to activities that make them more curious and more confident and more engaged in the community. And we rely on programs to be the main vehicle or conduit to families. They're in their neighborhoods, they know them best, they have a sense of what they want for their children. And so our real challenge is to make sure that learning out of school is a public priority because we know families value it. We're just at the beginning of ensuring that the business community understands the value of learning beyond school. When you ask an individual business leader where he or she developed their skills, inevitably they talk about a program they participated in, or a sport they played, or an internship, or a mentor they had. The challenge is to get them to see not just schools, but also the time out of school as a way for young people to develop those skills, to develop interests, to practice those skills, and to apply them. Too often, when business leaders talk about the quality of the new employees they hire, they think only about schools as the pathway for preparation. That's not the case. The 80% of children's waking hours spent outside of school can be a great lever for skill improvement and workforce readiness. And so the business leaders we've spoken to get this, and we're hoping to see more investment in this community as a result.